Hey, welcome back to the Confident Podcast. So glad to have you here with us today. My name is Dan, your host, and it is a privilege and a pleasure to be joining you here today to talk about things that matter with people who care. To quote my client Josh, it's a wonderful thing to be with you today. So, as we start every podcast, say this with me. I'm the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, so is tomorrow. I am wholly loved, so I will love wholly. Today I want to talk about the understanding that this is a journey, right? We all hopefully have an idea of where we want to go in our parenting journey. And if you don't, good news, we'll get there in a few episodes. We'll talk about what it looks like to cast this vision for when you're 75 and what does it look like to have your kids and family around. But before you get there, before we try to decide which mountain we're going to summit and where we're headed, it's really, really important to establish point A. Like, where are you today? Now, with my clients, I usually have them fill out this worksheet. If you email me, dan@confidad.com, I will shoot you the worksheet for free and you can fill it out and we can talk about it. But it's a great way to understand, like, where am I sitting today? What kind of things am I carrying from my childhood that I'm super grateful for? My parents killed it in this. I love it. I'm going to do it. And what are the things that you're like, man, I wish they didn't do that? And in fact, I'm going to swing the pendulum so far in the other direction that I'm not doing it, right? All of us have these things that we're carrying from our own childhood. But if you're not aware of what you're carrying, you may be carrying baggage that's unnecessary. To quote the great Richard Rohr, he says, what doesn't get transformed gets transferred. In other words, if you don't pay the price and do your work, your kids will end up paying the price because you will transfer that which you don't want into your kids. Maybe some of the stuff that you do want, but by default, everything gets transferred. And maybe you have baggage you're carrying today that you wish not to give to your children. Are you aware of it? Do you even know where it is? So it's a really important step. And total transparency here, I'm like, how do I craft this moment well on a podcast? Like in a one-on-one or a group setting, this is a very intimate time to be doing this. And so here's what I'll tell you to do. If you are driving, pause this episode and come back to it when you have 10, 15 minutes where you can do some journaling and we can talk through these things together. And what I'm going to do today in this episode is give you a solid glimpse into where point A is. We're going to give a good 30,000 foot overview of what are the things I'm carrying, where are we at today, and how do I move forward through this time. What I'm going to start with here is understanding this vision. Like, why did I start Confident? I told you to create home as the safest space, right? So that kids can feel seen, heard, and known at home. So when you say, I love you, the words coming out of your mouth match the lived experience of your children. Because just saying I love you isn't love. In fact, it's unloving to say I love you, but then not act loving. Nobody's perfect. No one's asking for perfection. But do you know your kids well enough to know their love language, to know how they receive love? If you don't, that's a great first step, a wonderful idea in understanding that. So if we are going to better see, hear, and know our kids, it's going to require some training, some tools, some lifting weights with muscles you haven't used before, or maybe very much. And so we'll get into that here in just a second as we move through. But Drew and Ellie Holcomb, two of my favorite artists, singer-songwriters, wrote this song about their children. Here's what I want you to do. Stop driving if you're still driving. Grab something to write with. It can be a Remarkable iPad. It doesn't matter. Something with a pen and paper, though, like not typing with your thumbs. Actual with a pen, pencil, paper, iPad, whatever. Okay, that's a very important part. While I sing this song, I want you to journal and just write whatever comes. If there's a memory that comes, if there's a thought that comes, if there's something else that comes, please just write it. Okay, and then later on, you come back to it and you can reflect on that point. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so quick little caveat here. I was going to play a song and then I was going to have you journal during it. Copyright. So instead, in the show notes, you will see a link to the song by Drew and Ellie Holcomb called Mine. So go ahead and click that link and listen to the song while you journal. Maybe you've never done something like that before, where you kind of journal it out as you listen to a song. But music is powerful. Like, we know this. And in culture, like, music is everywhere. You ever try to watch a movie without music, or a football game for that matter? So music moves something deep within us. What was moving in you there? Do you think about that first time you held your baby on your chest and they're now like 9? You're like, wow, that was a long time ago. A lot has changed. The dad I thought I was going to be back then isn't the dad that I am now. The gift is that we can let go of the past. Kind of have to if we want to move forward. If we want to understand where we are today, point A, and move to point B, start that journey, we have to let go of the past. The good, the bad. We can celebrate it. We can be grateful for it 100%. But if we try to live in the past, we try to live in those glory days of when the kids were all happy and all the things, and we all had this hope and a life ahead of us, it's not going to equip you for what's ahead. It's not going to empower you for where you're going. It's not going to make home the safest place for your kids. So I'll ask you this. Are you going to do the hard work and dive deep? Are you going to pay the price yourself so that your kids don't have to pay the price? You're going to transform those things within you so that they don't get transferred to your kids. I would love to know your thoughts, maybe what you journaled here. If you want to email them to me or send them to me somehow, reach out. I'd love to help you walk through this. The other thing, on my website, if you go to the chat bot and you ask it for the worksheet, it will give you a link to the worksheet. So go ahead and do that, and you're able to have that worksheet for yourself to work through. I want to give this to you because this is a big part of establishing this point A, establishing your starting point. It's a big part of my course where we talk about, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? What things are you carrying in your parenting that really frustrate you? What are the things you're really proud of? What is true today that you expected the whole time? You're like, yep, I knew that was going to be the case. What things have surprised you about parenting? All of these questions are really helpful in understanding where you're going. The last thing I'll talk about is being seen, heard, and known is probably the deepest human desire that there is that's kind of intangible, right? We pursue all kinds of things in our life, professionally, hobby-wise, relationally, to fill this void that is like, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm not known. And if you're in that place and you don't feel seen, heard, and known, let me say I would love to invite you into a place where you can do that. And then when you're receiving that love yourself, you're receiving that belonging in a community, you can learn how to create that in your own home. So your kids don't have to run away from you to find themselves. They don't have to run from your house into the world to discover who they are. What if they get to discover who they are right in your home with the village that you're building? That is a gift that you can give your children that they can never pay you back for. But guess what they can do? Carry it on to the next and the next and the next generation. Feeling secure in their gifts, feeling secure in who they are, and knowing what they bring to the world. That's what we're doing here at Confidad. So let me empower you with that today, that injection of power. You get to show up for your kids today. You get to be the one that gets to know them better than anyone else, any coach, any teacher, any lesson giver, whatever that role is. You get to know them better than all those people, and then invite those peripheral adults into their life to say, we're bringing a village around you to raise you into a human who is confident, who is interdependent, and understands who they are before they launch into the world. So may you go today and love your kids well by seeing them, by hearing them, like truly hearing what they have to say and knowing them deeper and better than anyone else can or will. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will see you tomorrow.